Hello and welcome to Notebook LM, your second brain for digital research. By the end of this session, you'll know how to set up and manage your own notebook in Google Notebook LM, bringing all your different resources into one organized space. No more scattered notes across apps. We'll then explore the really fun part, Notebook LM's smart tools. I'll show you how features like chat, discover sources, and the studio can help you turn information into podcasts, mind maps, reports, or even flashcards and quizzes. Next, we'll unpack the clever tech behind it, something called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG for short. Don't worry, it sounds technical, but I'll explain it in a simple way so it makes perfect sense. Once you see how it works, you'll be able to use Notebook LM to make your own research or teaching more efficient, connecting ideas faster and getting clearer insights. And finally, I'll encourage you to reflect on what you've learned and pick one way you can use Notebook LM straight after this session. Maybe to plan lessons, summarize reports, or manage your projects more smoothly. So what should you be able to do by the end of this session? Well, first, you'll have a clear sense of what makes Notebook LM different from the usual AI chat tools out there. It's not just answering questions, it's actually helping you understand and connect the information you care about. You'll also get hands-on practice uploading, exploring, and analyzing your own data. By the time we finish, you'll be comfortable asking Notebook LM questions and seeing how it pulls precise answers straight from your own sources. Next, we'll use some of the visual learning tools, those AI-generated mind maps, study guides, and quizzes. These are fantastic for boosting retention and seeing the bigger picture. We'll also touch on something really important, citations and evidence. You'll see how Notebook LM keeps things transparent by showing exactly where its answers come from, which is a huge step forward in trustworthy AI learning. And finally, you'll walk away knowing how to apply Notebook LM in your own professional setting, whether that's planning lessons, managing research, or just keeping your projects more organized and insightful. Here's the plan for our session. We've got 6 short sections that take us from challenge to confidence. We'll begin with a quick introduction to the challenge of information overload. You know that feeling when you've got articles, notes, and bookmarks everywhere, but can't find what you actually need. That's where Notebook LM steps in, and I'll show you exactly how. Next, we'll move into getting started with Notebook LM, creating your first notebook, adding your sources, and seeing how everything comes together in one place. Then we'll explore the core features. This is where Notebook LM really shines. We'll look at the chat tool, the Discover Sources option, and the studio features that let you turn your notes into podcasts, videos, and mind maps. After that, we'll pause for a bit of reflection and discussion. I'll ask a few questions, and you can think about how you might use Notebook LM in your own work or studies. Then we'll go behind the scenes to see what makes all of this possible, a concept called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG. It's a secret behind Notebook LM's accuracy and reliability. And finally, we'll wrap up by pulling it all together, how to apply what you've learned, a few pro tips, and some extra resources if you want to keep exploring that session. So that's our roadmap. Let's have a quick look at the housekeeping for this session. A few quick points before we get underway. This session runs for about 20 to 25 minutes. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat at any time. However, I'd prefer it if you didn't interrupt the presentation. Instead, raise your digital hand in Zoom and I'll come back to you. And finally, all slides and notes will be shared with you after the course. So by way of introduction, I'm Alan Fleming. I'm a project manager. I work with Microsoft Dynamics 365, and I've got more than 20 years consulting experience across higher education, finance, and technology. I've led multiple global ERP programs and was recognized by both Microsoft and EY for excellence in user adoption and change management. I'm also an Agile PM practitioner and certified as a business agility catalyst by the Agile Business Consortium. So today I'm excited to show you how Notebook LM can transform the way you learn, research, and create. So before we dive in, I'd love to get to know a little about you. Please share your screens, unmute yourselves, and tell me a little bit about yourselves, starting with your name, your job title, your reason for attending, any related experience working with AI to date. I'd like to hear about your hobbies, and also where are you joining us from? Which part of the world are you in today? So at this point, I'll stop and let the delegates introduce themselves, tell us a few reasons why they're joining the course. And obviously that's an important part for me to get to know the candidates and hopefully retain some of that information and make it more engaging for them, during this presentation. So now let's get started on the journey. Think about how many items you've stored or bookmarked or saved recently, articles, videos, or notes, and how few you've ever revisited or opened up again in the future. That frustration is exactly what Notebook LM solves. It turns scattered information into connected, usable knowledge. So my first question for everyone, turn on your chat box and now tell me, where does digital clutter hit you personally hardest in your daily life? My next question, how often do you revisit what you've actually saved on your computer? So is it 50 articles, 20 tweets, 15 videos, 3 notebook apps? Sound familiar? We're surrounded by data but disconnecting from its meanings. So put your hand up if you are guilty of saving and never read your information again. So my question, can anyone tell me how solving this could improve your teamwork? Can it improve your home life in terms of how you go shopping? Can it improve your studies by helping you with research? So I'll open it up to the floor now. So please feel free to share your experiences. So again, this is where I'll give the delegates a few moments to discuss the questions on the last slide. Traditional AI tools often make confident errors. That's what we call hallucinations. However, Notebook LM eliminates this by working only with your sources. That's the files you upload or the files that you select, and providing clickable citations for every answer that it comes up with. Have you noticed how this builds accountability and evidence-based learning? So 3 things make it unique. It only uses your data. Every claim is cited, and it's free for most users. Now you might be wondering, what actually makes Notebook LM different from all the other AI tools out there? Let's think about this from 2 perspectives, because we all learn and approach technology in slightly different ways. So for those of you who like quick decisions, here's my question to you. Have you ever wanted to experiment with an idea, to test a theory or build something quickly, but felt limited by how traditional AI tools give you vague or unreliable results? Well, with Notebook LM, you can safely experiment. You can upload your own files, notes, or research straight away and actually play with the data, asking what-if questions, testing ideas, and getting clear, cited responses that you can refine as you go. It gives you freedom to explore creatively without worrying about whether the tool is making a mistake or not. And for those of you who like to observe, analyze, and consider, here's a question for you. Have you ever hesitated to use AI because you weren't sure whether you could trust what it was telling you? Notebook LM changes that completely. Every answer comes with a citation showing exactly where the information came from, your documents, your notes, your research. That means you can review the evidence, trace it back to the source, and reflect with confidence, knowing what you're learning is grounded in truth. So whether you like to jump straight in and experiment or take a step back and analyze what's happening, Notebook LM supports both approaches beautifully. It's designed for curious minds who want accuracy and creativity in the same process. So let's open up Notebook LM and see it in action. We'll pause the slides now and go to the live presentation. So at this point, we would switch to the software demo and a practical workshop. However, due to the time constraints for this assignment, I've omitted this section to keep us on track. I'm happy to edit this presentation and insert the demo if you wanted to see the practical aspects of Notebook LM. So for example, if I was doing a live demo in Notebook LM, I'd go through maybe a 3-step process, by creating a notebook and give it a title, say AI Research Demo. Second step, I'd upload a few files, and that would show the delegates how to load in PDFs, web links, or YouTube videos. That will allow me to show the delegates that Notebook LM instantly generates summaries and titles from the information loaded into the notebook. And then in step 3, I would use Discover Sources to expand my library automatically with information and research from the web. So now back to the presentation. Notebook LM can manage up to 25 million words. That's 260 times more capacity than typical chatbots. To put it simply, if ChatGPT handles one Harry Potter book, Notebook LM handles all 7 books 23 times over. So consider how this scale changes your research possibilities and the amount of information you can load into a single notebook. Now here's where the real magic happens. RAG, or as I've mentioned before, Retrieval Augmented Generation. When you ask a question in Notebook LM, it doesn't just guess an answer. It actually goes through a 4-step process. First, it searches your uploaded documents. Second, it retrieves only the passages that truly matter to your question. Third, it loads those sections into working memory. And finally, it generates an answer based purely on that evidence, with clear citations that link straight back to your files. So think of RAG like the human brain as a 2-part memory system. The knowledge base acts like your long-term memory. It holds everything you've ever read or stored. But when you ask a question, Notebook LM pulls out just the key pieces it needs in short-term or working memory. That's a space where the thinking and synthesis happens. So it's not guessing, it's reasoning grounded in facts you've already provided. RAG guarantees accuracy and compliance because every answer comes with a citation. You can track exactly where the information came from. That's crucial if you're using Notebook LM for things like research validation, professional reporting, or audit-ready documentation. There's no hallucination, no guesswork, just verifiable, defensible insight. This is a point in our learning where experience meets theory. We're seeing the why behind how Notebook LM works. It's a connection between practice and principle, or, as Collab would call it, the interpret phase. Now that we understand the science behind it, let's look at how we can use it in real-world scenarios. Notebook LM Studio lets your research come alive. So it'll provide you with audio overviews, that's AI podcasts, summarizing your content. It can have a single speaker or a 2-speaker format. Mind maps, it'll show you the visual connections between your concepts. It'll also produce reports, flashcards, and quizzes. Tools that reinforce your learning. So why does multiple formats matter? So when we read, listen, visualize, and practice, we strengthen memory through repetition. Notebook LM supports all these modes naturally. So which of these formats, audio, visual, and interactive, works best for you? Can you type your answer in the chat? What do you prefer, audio, visual, or interactive ways of learning? Notebook LM isn't just for research. First of all, it's got workable knowledge bases. That's where you can upload SOPs and meeting notes. It's teaching materials. You can share notebooks with students and track engagement. It's got contact archives. That's where you can store scripts and blogs for consistency. It's got personal learning. Explore any topic in depth. Imagine how this reshapes your workflow. As we wrap up, let's take a final look at what we've covered today. In just one session, we've learned how to create and organize notebooks, use Notebook LM Smart Tools, understand how RAG keeps information accurate, and apply it to all our work or study. So now let's finish and look back at 5 of the questions that you've raised during this session, and hopefully this will help bring the whole concept home to you. So the first question that someone raised was, what's the main advantage of Notebook LM? Well, it helps you turn scattered notes into connected knowledge, all in one reliable space. So how does RAG improve accuracy? Well, RAG retrieves and uses only the most relevant information from your uploaded sources. There's no guessing, there's no made-up answers. Which feature best supports creative learning? Well, the studio tools, podcasts, videos, and mind maps make complex information easier to explore and share. So why are citations important? Because they show exactly where your answers come from, giving your learning credibility and confidence. What's one way you can use Notebook LM tomorrow? So when you leave this course, how can you use it? So try uploading your own research, reports, or meeting notes, and use Notebook LM to generate summaries or new insights. So now as we wrap up this session, let's go back through and have a quick look at the objectives. So we've explored how Notebook LM helps you collect, connect, and create knowledge you can trust. We've also just looked at the questions that you've raised during this course. So I would ask you, what else do you want to learn about AI in education or research? You should note it down because curiosity does fuel growth. Reflect on how you can use this training at your work. Think about one real task you'll apply Notebook LM to this week, whether it's planning lessons, drafting reports, or studying smarter. It's important to look at the references that are made and the citations that are made within Notebook LM, because you have to keep building up on verified resources and sources. Let your learning be anchored in evidence, not opinion. So take a moment to acknowledge your progress today. You've not just learned a new tool, you've built digital learning confidence. Thank you for joining me on Notebook LM, your second brain for digital research. Your slides and notes will be shared after the session, and I'd love you to take a moment to leave your final reflections in the feedback form before you go today. It's been great learning with you, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.